Hello, my name is Jeff Brenneman. I'm the Executive Director of LifeWork LLC. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about emotion dysregulation. Being a counseling agency, we have a number of people that come to us for some specialized care, and many of them are dealing with chronic emotion dysregulation. As you watch this video, you might notice that a family member suffers from this chronic dysregulation, or you may notice maybe that you're identifying with it as well. If that happens, there is a treatment that we provide at LifeWork called DBT, and you might want to check it out. So let's get into what emotion dysregulation really is all about. It is the inability to regulate emotions when they get intense. It often is people doing extreme things that might look very crazy to others, doing things that don't seem to make sense in a situation because of the intensity of it. So there's a way that this is created in someone, and it's a combination of biology and an invalidating environment, a learning environment. So let's spend a few minutes on the biology first. Each one of us is born with a level at which we're going to experience emotions, kind of an emotional thermostat. And some of us experience them on a lower level, and some people experience them on a very intense level. So one of the pieces of the biology that goes into dysregulation of emotions is the intensity. People are very sensitive. They have just a higher, more intense way that they experience emotions. I've heard people sometimes describe it as almost a physical pain. That's how intense the emotion is. So we have that piece. Another piece of the biology here is emotional reactivity. People who have really difficulty in regulating their emotions, they typically have more reactive emotions. They respond emotionally to smaller things. It may be very small things, and it produces a large emotional reaction. People looking from the outside might see this and say it doesn't fit, doesn't make any sense that you're this upset over something. So that's another piece of the biology. And the final piece is that the sensitive people who react quickly, they also have a slower return to the baseline, or they have a slower calm down period. And so it can start to look to others as if they're not handling things at all. And so the biology is that it's very, very intense, and it comes on quickly to smaller things than most people, and it takes longer to calm down. So that's the biology. That's how the emotions get experienced. And that causes some behaviors, certainly, and some things to happen. On the other side of it, what's also needed to create this chronic emotion dysregulation is an invalidating learning environment. And this could be parents as we grow up, school systems, it could be teachers, it could be other people we come in contact with, any institution. And what happens with the invalidating environment is folks are told that what they're feeling isn't real, or that they need to get over themselves, or that they're not feeling a certain way, or having their feelings discounted. And so when you have intense reaction over small things and you can't seem to calm down, and then you're told that it's not real, or you shouldn't be feeling that way, or any number of other ways to invalidate the experience, then this problem with regulating emotions really starts to come. And as you develop, it becomes more difficult, because these folks, very sensitive to emotions, react quickly and can't calm as well, and they get the message that that's not even what they're experiencing. So they're kind of in this no man's land of, I'm experiencing something really, really intense, I'm starting to not trust it because people are saying that, well, I shouldn't have these emotions, and it starts to lead to a real difficulty in managing emotions. And that's what we mean by emotion dysregulation, is that inability to manage intense emotions. And it comes from that combination of biology and the invalidating learning environment. The one that says you're not actually feeling what you're feeling, or invalidates in many other ways. Things like, don't cry, I'll give you something to cry about, would be an example of an invalidating statement. And this would need to happen over the course of time, and it's all of the environment that this person grows up in. So this creates a person that is living in extremes, and I'm going to get into those extremes right now. So I'll move out of the way and point out some things in just a minute. But what happens is there are certain things that we believe are more biologically based behaviors and more learned behaviors that happen in thought patterns. And so what we see in people with chronic emotion dysregulation is this inability to regulate, inability to find a balance. And so they end up in the extremes. It's either I'm drowning in my emotion or I'm denying that I have it. It's either doing something desperate to feel anything different, or it's pretending that I'm fine. It's every little thing's a crisis, or I'm pushing down the feelings. And so this leads to what might be viewed as crazy behavior, things that don't make sense to people around. So here's what it looks like in a graphic sense, or in a graphic form. On the top we have the emotional vulnerability. This is that intense emotion, sometimes explained as like an emotional third-degree burn. This is the drowning in the emotion and being aware of that. On the opposite side of that is self-invalidation. Having grown up in an invalidating environment, we start to pull that on the inside. And then there is self-talk, the things we say to ourselves are denying that the emotion's there, they are pushing it away, they're saying that it's not real. And so this creates problems in going between those two things. Another one of those is the desperate behaviors. This would be things like, this could be suicide threats, this could be self-harm, this could be substance use behavior, this could be sex, this could be all kinds of reckless behaviors. These are things that people are doing to make themselves feel differently because they don't believe that it's ever going to end, because of that slow return to calming down. On the other side of that, when they're not doing the desperate things, then it's the mask. We call it apparent competence. You look competent. You look like you have it all together. And so people can present in a way that seems like they're fine. And we see this start to happen with these extremes, either having desperate behaviors or pretending that you're fine. The final one then is the unrelenting crisis. This is very small things become crises over and over again. And on the other side of that one is the pushing down feelings. This is stuffing those feelings away, trying not to feel them. And on the top half, we think of these things up here as being more biologically based. This is based in the emotional intensity, the reactivity, and the slow return to baseline. And the bottom things down here, these are things that are learned from our learning environment, from the places that people grow up. And so what ends up getting set up is this life of extremes. And when we're living in a life of extremes, there's no way to actually make progress. So when someone has chronic emotion dysregulation, they're not able to function very well because they're never getting to a place where they're balanced and making decisions that are making sense. Now, this comes in varying degrees. Sometimes people are making well-reasoned decisions and are able to function well, and sometimes they're not. So the emotion dysregulation can come on in episodes. It can go along for a while and appear like everything's fine. And people who have this chronic emotion dysregulation, at times they are making great decisions that are balanced and they're based in reason and emotion. But a lot of the times it's either the emotion or the logic. And that's where we get some of the really behaviors that might seem crazy to us. Hopefully this has been somewhat helpful in just giving you a kind of tip of the iceberg sort of feeling for what emotion dysregulation is.